Time for 7 First Alert weather.
Just in case you missed it last night, or in case you want to keep track, but you haven't been, it was the 8th warmest July on record, the warmest August on record for Boise, and the 2nd warmest September on record for Boise. And we weren't alone in that, particularly because of that extreme heat wave through the first part of September. Many locations across the West experienced at least one of the top 3 warmest Septembers on record. So it was a hot one, and maybe you're already feeling like summer's starting to linger into the month of October. The forecast really looks like that, favoring above average temperatures to continue for the month of October ahead as well. At least a 50% chance of an average temperature for the month of October once it's over to be above average for the month. But this is where we should be, just to put it in perspective, starting the month with highs in the low 70s for Boise, wrapping up the month with highs in the 50s. That's how quickly things cool down through the month of October, and our lows go from the 40s, that's where we should be, into the 30s, and typically by about the middle part of the month is when we get frosts and freezes showing up in the forecast. So we'll have to see how quickly that happens. But for now, we're putting the forecast in cruise control, as I mentioned before, and temperatures, morning lows and afternoon highs, largely above average at least through this next week, if not the next 2 weeks, so the first half of October. Highs today in the mid to upper 70s, really comfortable this afternoon, 62 in McCall. Weather timeline through the overnight hours, clearing skies, temperatures falling back off into the mid and upper 40s, generally speaking, for the entirety of the Treasure Valley. Boise probably a little closer to 50 degrees to start the day tomorrow. So maybe an extra layer at the bus stop tomorrow for all locations, but you won't need it in the afternoon. You won't need it at lunch recess either. Into the Central Mountains, we're looking for highs in the mid to upper 60s, mostly sunny skies, dry conditions. A similar story through the West Central Mountains, low to mid 70s for Long Valley. Perfect weather in the mountains, and the leaves are starting to change in response to losing daylight and also in response to those cool mornings. So some pretty colors that are showing up around town and up in our mountains. 78 degrees for a high in Boise tomorrow. So here's a look at the forecast for the mountains, 7-day forecast. A lot of sunshine and no pops. Probability of precipitation, that's what POP stands for. That would be any chance of rain or storms, and just not seeing it at least for the next week, if, like I mentioned before, if not for the first half of October, keeping things high and dry. That is the theme of the story, 7-day forecast. I mentioned to Carolyn before, I can't remember the last time I put together a forecast that looked like this, but I want to show you this too. Again, just to kind of date things for us, since it seems like summer is lingering into fall, into October. The first frost or freeze for the Boise area, typically around the middle part of the month. That would be a temperature around 32 degrees for a low. I don't have any of that in the forecast, but just for planning purposes, and in case you're losing track of time because of these warm temperatures, I put this together just to be helpful for any of my fellow planners out there. And honestly, as I was putting together this countdown, I was surprised. Only 84 days until Christmas? It just doesn't feel like it.
Yikes. You know what? That's a good mama right there. Counting that down for all of us. Thanks for taking care of us and letting us know how close everything was. But isn't this great weather for football?
Oh, I love this.
Oh, and Friday night at Bronco Stadium, Albertson Stadium, was amazing.